Spiritual Psychics TV is hosting the first annual recognition of achievements this December, acknowledging those who dedicate their lives to a spiritual act of kindness. Spiritual Psychics TV, bringing spiritual people together.
Well, good evening, everybody.
Good evening, everybody.
Well, we're quite looking forward to this evening and all your questions and whatever, and we'll just wait a few minutes before I tell you what's happening until we see people are coming in. Can't get the staff. Hi, Kimbo.
Terry. Good evening, Terry.
No. Sorry.
Hi, Heather. Lovely to have you with us. Good evening, Michaela. Hi, Shelley.
Hi.
Good
Hi,
evening,
Linda.
What a lovely name, Millie B. Good evening. Evening, Kaz. Happy with us.
Hi, Joanne. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Sherry.
Good to have you with us.
Hi, Jojo.
So good
Hi,
they named
picture.
twice. Hi, Christiana.
Hi, Bev.
Hi, Mary. Well, it certainly looks like we're having a full shop tonight, Moira.
It certainly does. There's a few here.
So we should have some wonderful questions coming in about our chosen subject for the evening, which I know you'll tell the good people about.
We're good. Okay. So good evening, everybody. And it's absolutely lovely, you know, that so many are finding it interested enough to come and talk to us both. I mean, I'm sure you're here for me and not Tim, but that's beside the point. But bless. But we're going to have a lovely evening this evening. And what we're going to ask you to do is bring your questions on the natural process of mental mediumship. Is it, Tim?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of my favorite subjects.
I know it is. Okay, so remember what that is, the natural process of mental mediumship. So what is the natural process? In fact, what do you think the natural process is? Come along and ask your questions. Let's have a chat and see where we go from there.
And we may do one,
No.
we may do 1 or 2 messages this evening, Moira, to highlight that natural process as we move through it to bring the word of spirit.
Yeah.
So let me give,
all I can see is Jenny Bennett
outline,
and it says hello.
The natural process of
Okay.
medium actually is. So when a medium has the intention to express the craft or go through the craft of mediumship, very first thing he or she has to do, of course, is have that intention. Let me remind you, we're looking at mental mediumship this evening as opposed to physical mediumship. So those platform demonstrations, those one-to-one sittings, which of course are more intimate. But first of all, the medium has to have the intention to put that consciousness, that mind in the right place. And in that passive state, in that preparation to attune to the spirit world, knowingly or unknowingly, very, very naturally, and that's important, that word, very naturally, the sensitivity begins to become activated. And within that sensitivity, we begin to have a spiritual awakening, awareness, attunement. Now, within that process comes the potential, and I say potential, for psychic experiences. Those 6 senses, forgive me for being boring, I have them written down here. Those 6 senses that both mediums and psychics use within their own craft. Both of them are beautiful crafts. I'm not here measuring one against the other. But those 6 senses, clairvoyance, for example, the ability to clearly see spiritual energy, clairaudience, the ability to clearly hear spiritual energy, clairsentience, the ability to clearly sense spiritual energy, clairgustance, the ability to taste spiritual energy. Sometimes you will hear mediums say, well, your mother's taken me into her kitchen and I can taste the meat pies that she used to make. Clairolfactience, the ability to smell spiritual energy. Again, you will hear some mediums saying, I know your grandfather smokes, I can smell the tobacco, the pipe tobacco, for example. And claircognoscience. Claircognoscience is one that's really come in and took hold in recent years that mediums use, and it's that clear knowing, if you like, that gut feeling. When a medium may say something, for example, I know your father's name is John. They don't know how, they didn't see the name John, clairvoyance. They didn't hear the name John, clairaudience. It was just a knowing, claircognoscience. There are many schools use different phrases, but I think they're the 6 that are most commonly used. And so in this natural process that the medium goes through, in this attunement and this preparation, their sensitivity and their psychic abilities, those spiritual senses, begin to kick in. They begin maybe to become aware, hearing things, maybe seeing things, maybe seeing an individual, because then the awareness of spirit steps in, where they begin to have that relationship, that blending, if you like, with an individual from that spirit side of life. And then, and only then, comes the potential for the miracle. And I don't say that flippantly, the miracle of life that we know as the craft of mediumship, where the medium can give some guidance and some proof to highlight that they have the company of our loved ones with them. So as the evening goes on, and if the questions call for it, both Moira and I will highlight a particular stage that I've just gone through there, a step that I've gone through there, to highlight and help answer the question. So we do need your questions, because these are evenings of education. So we do ask that you wonderful people who have joined us, let's have some questions. Later on, we may return the favour by giving you one or two messages. There you go.
Right, Tim. So we've got a message up at the minute from Gail Amos.
Good evening, Gail.
And Gail is saying we talk about trusting spirit and ourselves to deliver messages. But how do we build that trust?
Yeah.
Well, personally, what I would say is practice. Because I think mainly, Gail, what we have to do is practice. And the more that we practice and people start to accept what we're giving, then, excuse me, I'm sorry, I've got a cough. That in itself then helps to build our trust. Because I think we all trust the spirit world, but that doubt is within us. But also, I will say that the more that you become aware of the spirit world, even just sitting in the company of spirit will help to build your trust, because you'll get to know that they are there. And when it comes then to giving your messages, you won't doubt it. You won't be thinking it's coming from you. You'll definitely know within that energy that the spirit world are there. Tim.
That's a lovely question, Gail. Thank you very much. And I agree fully with Moira there. But if I can just give a slightly mechanical, I think I'm going to give the same answer as Moira, but from maybe a slightly mechanical and the science of mediumship. If we come back to that process that I spoke of there, if we go to awareness, I spoke of awareness. The awareness in the process of mediumship is a conscious act. So your sensitivity is heightened. The energy of the spirit communicator, the communicator steps into your energy, blends with your energy, and begins to communicate. That communication is telepathic. It's a mind-to-mind communication there. Your awareness, your consciousness acknowledges the shift in your sensitivity. Oh, and you hear some people say, who are not mediums, oh, somebody's just walked over my grave. There's been a shift in their energy, and they've felt it. But they've acknowledged it with their consciousness, with their awareness. They were aware of that shift. And it's the same for mediums and psychics alike. But with the medium, the communicator will step into their energy. You will acknowledge it with your awareness. Now, your awareness, your mind, your consciousness has to be quite passive during the act and the craft of mediumship. If it's active and your thoughts are active, then there is the danger of doubt coming in, judging what you're seeing or the experience that you're having, and distorting it through your own logic, and of course your distrust of the world, maybe of your own ability. So the more passive you can be within that awareness that Moira spoke about there, the less chance you're giving, or the less opportunity you're giving your own consciousness to begin to measure and doubt. So it's, if you think of a car gearbox, it's encouraging the mind to be in neutral during the act of mediumship. How can we achieve that? Through meditation. Thank you very much for that question, Gail. We can do questions and answers.
I can't see any others, Richard. Oh, sorry, Sugar. Okay, so Natalie, I hope I'm saying this right, Natalesia, where do you think negative energy go when they pass? Sorry, I've got to try and work this out. What she Yeah. Well, for me, negativity is of this world, not the next. It's of this materialistic life. You know, people are either positive or negative, and it depends what's happening in your everyday life. And it can actually be that you are a negative person all your life. You'll always see the negative in something and not the positive, where others can see the positive and not the negative. And some of us sort of switch from one to the other. I'm sure Tim will have a more in-depth on it, but for me, as far as I'm concerned, that is part of this physical body. So when we pass to the spirit world, we leave it behind.
I think we have to, and we haven't got time to go into it, but it's a fantastic question. But I think what you have to do is define negativity, because as Moira alluded to there, that negativity is a subjective opinion, and different people will perceive it in different ways. And for me, a negative act, it comes about through the consciousness of the individual. So very briefly, if two people are standing on the pavement, on a busy road, and two people come and stand behind those two people, one of them is severely mentally handicapped, one of them is absolutely sane, and both people behind push the people in front into the road of the traffic, and both people die. Which one of them was more of a negative act than the other? And we have to say, and I'm sure you would agree with me, that the person who was fully sane was a more negative act than the person who was severely mentally disabled, because maybe he is not fully aware mentally of what he's doing and the responsibility there and the actions that he's causing by pushing the person in front. So it's very subjective. But what we also have to say is, are we saying, if we look at this and embrace this question, are we saying that the actions of somebody's consciousness and physical existence, the spirit has to take responsibility for and be responsible for when the spirit takes its transition? I would struggle with that, and from Moira's answer, it sounds like she would struggle with that. You know, I've done things that are negative. I've done many things that are positive, but I can't hold my spirit responsible. I have to hold my own thoughts, my own consciousness responsible. And if we look at energy, if we come back to your question, if we look at energy, for me, energy is neither negative or positive. Energy is just energy. It's the actions that is taken that are negative or positive, not the energy, in our opinion. Said Abbott. Something for you to go away and think about. You know, let me say this at this point. As Moira and I offer up our answers, we're not saying you have to agree with us, but what we're encouraging you to do is go away and think about it. So hopefully we educate each other with our thoughts.
Okay, Tim, we've got I'm going to answer this one briefly, then leave it to you. Jenny Bennett is saying, hi, Moira and Tim. I was just wondering, are all children, able to see spirits? And if so, what age does it last until? And thank you so much. Well, my only comment to that is I never used to see them. But over to you, Tim.
I think it was maybe in the 50s or 60s. Please don't quote me on that. We had to remember that we're talking about a spiritual science here. And spiritual science suggests, And I think there was some survey done in the 50s or 60s. The mind and the consciousness of a child up to 7 isn't fully formed, so that it isn't full of, if they're not starting to make judgments for themselves up until the age of 7. Maybe look at what they like and dislike, maybe start agreeing with politics or disagreeing from a child's point of view, of course, what teachers they like or dislike. So their minds are more clear. This is my wording, clear of baggage, of, does my bum look big in this, which your average adult is concerned about. A 6-year-old child isn't concerned about that type of thing at all. So they are more open, if you like, to that presence of spirit. Their sensitivity and their awareness is more pure and open and not soiled by how many zeros do I have in the bank? Do I like somebody who doesn't speak my language or share the same coloured skin as me? What politics do I like or don't like? Their minds are not full of that clutter, so it's easier for them to have an awareness. Yeah.
But I think we've got to say, because she's asking, are all children able to see spirit? I think the possibilities are there, but not all of them do. And I'll come back to the fact that I never actually saw the spirit world until I went to a spiritualist church and decided to start and work with it.
Yeah. I think we have to say, if we come back to the system that I spoke about earlier, that I highlighted earlier, and we come to sensitivity. It's not quite as simple as this, but mediumship is nothing more than an extension of sensitivity. And we are all sensitive to a lesser or greater degree. And we all choose to work with or be open with that sensitivity to a lesser or greater degree. So some individuals have heightened sensitivity, if you like, and have the ability to be mediums, and some people don't. And that would be the same, I have to agree with Moira, that would be the same with children as it would with adults. Not all adults are mediums. Do they all have the potential to be mediums, both children and adults? Most definitely, because the sensitivity is there. It's coming to know that sensitivity and work with that sensitivity that makes that potential a reality. I think, again, in between the First and Second World War, maybe one of our viewers would know about this, there was a group of children that toured England. I remember Gordon Higginson talking about this, Moira. A group of about 6 children that toured England in between the First and Second World War, demonstrating mediumship.
Okay, then. Is that it?
Absolutely.
Sorry. Lincoln Egg. Thank you. Didn't expect that answer, did you? But there you go. It's very interesting, isn't it, love? But I hope that's helped you, darling, in the question that you've asked us. And thank you very much as well. Oh, we've got Cheryl now.
Lovely.
What does it mean when you're hearing a high-pitched noise in your ears? It's usually at night, and I also see faces when I close my eyes.
Wonderful.
Over to you, Tim.
So what's is it Cheryl? Yeah, Cheryl, what's happening here is your spiritual senses are beginning to become activated. You mentioned about this high-pitched noise. So you're hearing something. It's not, hello, my name is Tim, but you're hearing a high-pitched noise. So you are having an experience of clairaudience. And when you close your eyes, you're having an experience of clairaudience. I beg your pardon. You're having an experience of clairaudience when you're hearing, and an experience of clairvoyance get it right, when you're closing your eyes and seeing. On all of these senses, the 6 senses that I mentioned earlier, on all of them, there are 2 levels that you will experience them, subjectively and objectively. So subjectively, in your mind's eye, you're saying that you close your eyes. So it's probably subjective within your mind's eye. You're getting the images, the visions. The high pitched, that may be objectively, outwardly. It's not physical phenomena. It's still of a spiritual nature. Still comes under the banner of mental mediumship. But it sounds like your spiritual senses are beginning to become activated. Now, what you have to ask yourself as an individual is, do I want this as part of my life or not? Moira.
I think that will do. We'll have the next one, please. Unless everybody's gone home, of course, Richard. Okay, so this is from Laurie. I would love to know if you have any daily routines you do for mediumship. Well, I'll answer mine, Tim. And I'm very naughty in one way and say no. I at the minute, because of what's going on, I don't sit for meditation or anything like that. But what I will say is that during the course of the day, I talk to the spirit world, whatever I might be washing up, putting the washing out on the line, seeing to the budgies, anything. But while I'm doing it, I can be talking to the spirit world. But it's not what I would call a daily routine for me. It's very selfishly at the minute when I need it.
Yeah.
What about you, Tim?
Well, I have to highlight something here. You can see, and that's the great thing of having both Moira and I on. Moira very much comes from a very spiritual, natural approach to mediumship, where I come from a very mechanical approach to mediumship. I love my approach. Moira doesn't. Moira loves her approach. I don't. But that gives you the 2 different angles. I would say it sounds like for you to ask that question, you're looking at your development and on the journey of discovering your own mediumistical ability, which is a wonderful thing. I would recommend meditation. I was very lucky, and I know Moira knows her very well, but I was very lucky that a Swami, those of you who went to the Arthur Findlay College in the 80s and 90s would remember a Swami that Gordon asked to come and teach about spiritual energy and different types of meditation. And I was very lucky that she took an interest in my mediumship, and I would go and have one-to-one classes with her. Why she had interest in me, I don't know. But she would always insist and encourage and recommend meditation. And within meditation, you can achieve all you need to achieve within mediumship. For example, to do meditation, you have to be in an altered state of consciousness. Well, you have to do that to do mediumship. Within meditation, sometimes, depending on the type of meditation, there's different types of meditation, you may have the company of somebody from the spirit world. To do mediumship, you have to have the company of somebody from the spirit world. Within meditation, you may activate those 6 senses that we've just referred to in the previous question. So quite a lot of the practice of mediumship can be achieved from a spiritual point of view in the practice of meditation. But it takes discipline. It takes discipline. I did it every day for 2 years, which gave me a very good grounding and relationship with the spirit world. I'm much more cavalier these days. Maybe once a week, once a fortnight, I will meditate. As a developing medium, I don't think that's enough. But for me, meditation, I think I equally agree with Moira. Keep it real. The intention. Have the intention. Keep it real. Talk to them from time to time.
But you see, for me, Tim, and you know that we both teach a walking meditation, and it's a beautiful way to me of communicating with the spirit world, and I love it. And that is, in a way, what I'm doing. I'm still meditating in my own way and communicating with the spirit world and focusing on them, but just while I'm actively doing something else.
But that's not all just for our viewers, Moira. That was not 24 hours a day, is it?
No, definitely not.
Just every now and then.
Yeah, just every now and again. It might be once or twice a day. It might not be every day. It just depends on what's happening, really, and how I'm feeling.
Absolutely. So we do hope that helps you.
Thank you, Laurie.
I love that name, Millie B.
Hi, Millie B. The picture's lovely too. Hi, Tim and Moira. When you learn to do mediumship, do you actually hear the spirit world, or is it more what you hear in your mind? Over to you, Tim.
So I think we touched on that with not the last question, but the one prior to that, Millie. But there is a good point I'm going to highlight for what you're saying there. So your spiritual senses will be experienced, perceived by the medium, both subjectively and objectively, outwardly and within the mind's eye, if you like. If we take, for example, clairvoyance, the ability to see. But what is important with those spiritual senses and the relationship that you have with the spiritual senses as a medium and a psychic, because psychics use the spiritual senses as well. Spiritual senses do not come from the spirit world, as some people will have you believe. That is a myth. That is a myth. And we know that because psychics have the spiritual senses and experience them, and they're not in contact with the spirit world. Again, I'm not undermining the work of psychics. It's a wonderful craft, and I always recommend people go and have a good psychic reading. But if I'm correct, and those 6 spiritual senses are a part of our very being, a part of our sensitivity, and then we have access to all of them. We only have access to all of them if within our consciousness, remember it's called mental mediumship for many reasons, if we accept in our mind, in our consciousness, that we have all 6 of them, and we have access to them. A lot of mediums will say, oh, I can't see the spirit world. They're empowering a false. And psychology will tell you that if you say I can't, the probability is you won't. And if you can liken it a little bit like, if you think of a carpenter has a toolbox. The tools in the toolbox are not carpentry. They are tools to aid the carpenter. If the carpenter uses just one tool, for example, the carpenter says, I'm only going to use a hammer today, no other tools, that carpenter is going to limit the ability of his carpentry. But if he uses all of those tools in the natural, correct manner, he will enrich and empower the carpentry. So it is with our sensitivity, our awareness, our spiritual senses. It's almost like there's this spiritual toolbox inside us that we can tap into and call on at any given moment to perceive the spirit world. I hope that helps.
Okay, thank you for that, Millie. Okay, this is from Terry. And she's asking, I'm having to take a step back from development classes to focus on other things. Will I still be able to build my connection with spirit, even though I'm not in a circle? And how do I keep the connection? Well, I would start it off, Terry, by saying, I have a saying that I think is nice, and that is that I'm here to live this life, and to be aware of the spirit world is the bonus, not the other way round. And so if you have to put your life and your family first, then I think that's good that you're doing that. What I will say is, to me, the spirit world are still there anyway. They don't go anywhere. They're still there with us. And you can. I developed my own trance sitting on my own at home and sitting in the company of spirit. So I believe that you can still make that connection and build that connection with the spirit world all on your own. And like we were saying before, to sit in meditation, you don't actually need to be in a circle to keep that link with the spirit world. The only thing is the messages, of course. You need somebody else there if you want to practice the actual mediumship. But to keep that connection, to me, no, you can just do it on your own at home. Tim.
Well, I can add very little to what you said, Moira. They're wise words. I always say to my students, Terry, that mediumship is a very important part of your life. The important word that I just said there was part of your life, not the whole of your life. Otherwise, there's something abnormal about your life. And you've had to take a step back to deal with other aspects of your life. And the spirit world will be the first quarter to respect that. I tell you now. Will it be the same when you go back to it? No. Let me tell you why it won't be. Because you will change. I will be a different person tomorrow than what I am today. Maybe only tiny parts of me will be different, but I will develop for one reason or another, partly by talking to you, partly by sharing this program with Moira. So I will be a different person tomorrow than what I am today. You will be a different person through whatever journeys and experiences you have by the time you go back to your mediumship. That doesn't mean it's going to be worse or different to the point where you can't work with it. Actually, it will probably be enriched for the experiences that you've had. So yes, it will change because you would have changed through life's journey. Be open to that, but that will probably enrich it. But mediumship is only part of your life. Lovely question. Thank you. Shall we, Moira, with permission of our director, shall we give a message maybe and show the process of what I go through to give a message for somebody?
You can do, if it's okay with Richard, if we're not imposing on the part in the middle.
Wonderful. What I'm going to do for you wonderful people, and maybe we'll give another one later on, depending on the time. I'm going to give a message from somebody in the spirit world, but I'm going to talk through the process, what I'm going to go through, leading up to interacting with the individual from the spirit world, and then presenting the mediumship. So the first thing I need to do is have the intention in my mind. I want to do the mediumship. And by talking to you good people about it, that is giving out a message to the spirit world, to myself. And while I'm talking to you, I'm beginning to just settle my thoughts down. And in doing that, I'm allowing my sensitivity to become active. And already I am beginning, my spiritual senses are beginning to be activated, because I'm beginning to clairvoyantly see one or two things here. Objects, I haven't seen an individual yet. And as I say that, the individual has stepped forward. That's the intelligence of the spirit world. I'm saying, I can only see objects. So the individual has stepped forward. And now I have the potential for mediumship. So what we need is, I offer up this information. I just need one of you to give, if you understand the information, respond to it by saying, I can take that, or yes, I understand that in one way or another. Excuse me. So that we can have a recipient, a client. So I'm aware of a gentleman. As I've gone through that process, I'm beginning to become aware of a gentleman through my sensitivity. and my awareness is acknowledging what's happening to my sensitivity. I know this gentleman because I can feel through that sensitivity that he's a close family member, and I want to say very close family member. There is a loving bond between whoever I need to talk to and the gentleman that I have here. I feel like, yeah, I'm going to put my neck on the line and say, because I'm hearing, oh, that's fine. I am hearing the name Tom, and I know I want to say he was known sometimes as Tommy. And I do believe when I say Tom, that is the gentleman that I have with me here, his name. Now, I also am feeling clairsentiently, we spoke about them senses, and my attention's being taken to, and I'm being inspired to talk about the lungs. You would know of things like a disease, I want to say, in the lungs. So it's like COPD or emphysema or asbestosis. There's something like that going on in the lungs here. I know as I work with this man that he would be certainly well into his 70s, maybe just creeping into his 80s there as he takes his transition to the spirit world. So I just need to know if anybody would understand that, please. That would be lovely if you could acknowledge that for me. You know, I have to say, I feel like I'm talking about exactly I feel like I want to say father or grandfather. And I can see that Tom is saying, my dad, or somebody saying my dad is Tommy. Okay, that's wonderful. You know, I have to say, and I'm not saying father lived in London, but I know there's a connection to London here. As I'm working with father, 71, that's fine. I know it's somewhere in between 70 and pushing 80 there. So 71's in that ballpark. Can live with that. So again, I know we've got one or two people speaking up, but let me just carry on working with it here. Me too's good. I know that I want to say father was very much a manual worker. I go to work, and you know, I go to work, and I'm not afraid of physical hard work. And I come home dirty, and I will have to have a bath, a shower when I come home. Now, again, I can see that several people are taking this, but wherever this gentleman lived, I know there was no indoor plumbing, because he's showing me now a tin bath. And I know that they have to, I get the impression, I want to say, he was able to shower or bath at work, that they catered for that. But on the odd occasion when he would come home dirty, the tin bath would come out in front of the fire. And I know it's a coal fire, so I know we're going back here. And mother would prepare the bath with the boiling water from kettles and things like that. One of you should understand that information. But it's this lung condition that sadly takes Dad to the spirit world. I do feel, as I'm working with Dad, I can see Linda saying about uncle, but it does feel to me like it's father or grandfather. When you say uncle, Linda, if it's father's brother, I could live with that, but I don't want to stretch any further out than that. I don't want to make it fit. I'm not one of them mediums. I know there is a I know there is a dog here, also in the spirit world. James looks quite good there, Moira, huh?
Yeah, I'm just reading it now, Liv. She said her dad passed with asbestos and lung cancer.
Yeah, that's resonating with me, that one, Moira.
And they always used to call him Tom because he looked like Tom Jones.
Lucky man. Jane, let me work with you here. I'm going to thank everybody else, but Jane, let me work with you here. You would understand where there is a black dog in the spirit world that has almost like a white diamond or a white mark on its forehead there, and it's a forgive me, but it's the old phrase, isn't it? It's a Heinz 57 dog. It's a mongrel, but I know it was loved by the family, and I know that to be in the spirit world with Dad there as well. There's also a time here where Dad rides a bike, a push bike. I'm not saying he can't afford a car, but I just every now and then he takes me to what I would call an old man's bike. Oh, okay. And then Jane, you would understand where, and it may even be a fob watch, but you would understand where there is a watch, either in your keeping of your father's there, or within your immediate family that's been handed down. I actually feel like I want to say this is a fob watch. And there must also be the name George in the family there as well, closely connected. George may actually be father's brother, but it's certainly a very close relative there. I can take all. Okay, so
That's
let me
Kelly.
Yeah, let me carry on, and then there will be one or two of you that will be able to take it. And I will say this: take it for what it's worth, for what it is for you. Okay. Okay.
Jane lost a dog, but she can't remember what it looked like.
That's
She was
okay.
only little.
Okay. Do you know there's some connection here? I think it was it Kelly and Jane? You'd understand where there is a connection to trains, like somebody in the family working on trains, or a connection to a train station. Your father keeps showing me trains, and I know I want to go back with that. It's a memory. Oh, okay. Kelly's saying she has the watch. Okay, so and I want to place a connection to George as well there, you see. But I want to come back here to the message, and I'm going to say, and it's very naughty of me, but Kelly and Jane, please take it for what it's worth. My nan left a watch. That's absolutely fine. There is a trip that is planned for one of you. I'm not saying a holiday, a day out to the seaside. It's not that. It has an importance behind it, like maybe a meeting, a trip where you're going to a meeting or a family gathering. There is an importance about it, and I know it's been penciled in the diary, and I know we're coming to the time, we're coming up to that date, and I just feel like Father's saying, you really must. Okay, that sounds good, Jane. I do feel like I am with Jane, but it's important that you take that journey. It will be beneficial to you. I'm not saying financially beneficial to you, but it will be beneficial to you in a spiritual way, in a way of growth. So I know Father's encouraging that. And if he's encouraging that, then he walks with you into the future. He supports you in the future, like any father would. So I ask, Jane, that you take that. Kelly, please take from it what you can. That's the way the spirit world works. I'm now in my mind thanking Father and allowing him to withdraw. And I'm feeling in my sensitivity, I'm feeling him withdraw. I'm not watching him. I'm not saying goodbye to him. If I do that, I'm engaging with him and I'm encouraging the relationship. I'm just letting him withdraw very naturally as he steps back to the spirit world. So Jane and Kelly, can I thank you very much for working with me. I hope that highlighted some of the process that I went through there to bring about that relationship with Father and offer up the information that you took so well there. Thank you very much, Jane.
They've also got a wedding coming up, so that in Scotland, Tim, that belongs to the family.
Is that Jane?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's your journey. There's your journey. Absolutely. Well done. Brilliant. Make sure you attend it.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to some adverts, ladies and gentlemen. Please enjoy.
You're watching What is Mediumship with Moira and Tim. The show will continue after these short messages. After this broadcast, we have our free live Zoom chat. It's for those who are interested in talking to like-minded people. The Zoom details are placed under the SPTV fan page. Tomorrow night, we have Polly Harnett with a demonstration of mediumship. That show starts from 8 p.m. For more information on our broadcasts, schedule, and information about the presenters, please visit our website. Well, that's it for the announcements. I'll pass you back to Moira and Tim. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Wonderful.
I'm alive. I don't know Tim.
So it'd be nice if you can maybe offer up some more questions for either Moira or myself. That would be lovely.
Okay, from Elizabeth. Oh, I love that picture, Elizabeth. My question is, I don't always know who the person is for. Sorry, who is the person is for. They show up before I do a live, and then I found out who it's for. Can I develop to know who it is to sort of make it easier? Do you want me to read that again, Tim?
Well, I think I understand the question. I think what the lady's saying, what Elizabeth is saying, I think, is she's not always clear who her recipient is. Is that how you're hearing it, Moira?
No, I think what she's saying is, you know, like with you, Tim, when we're going to do a demonstration or when you're going to do one, you're aware of someone before you get to the church or anything.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And then when you get there and you start working, that's when you find out who they're for. And what I think she's asking is that she doesn't always know who the person is when they show up before she does something live. But then she finds out who it is once she starts working.
Okay.
And Elizabeth, if that's incorrect, just message and say so. So she wants to know, can I develop to know who it is to make it easier?
So if we look back at that, I'm always happy to have a look at my own work. I'm not sure how.
All right, she just said she's not sure who the message is for.
Okay, the client, the recipient. Yeah. So there are three ways of presenting a message, and that would be in a forum like, for example, a theatre, a church, a hall where there is a congregation, an audience gathered. You will either go direct to an individual, you will put the information out to the whole congregation, or you will go to an area. I know I need to be over where those four ladies are sitting, for example. And they all have pluses and minuses. I would say different teachers will tell you different things, by the way. I have to agree with some of the old masters of mediumship when they say do all three and allow all three to be part of an evening's demonstration. So, for example, a lot of people, modern teachers, will say you have to go direct. But the minute you go direct, nothing wrong with that. But if you go direct all evening to a client, if you go direct all evening, and let's say you have 100 people in your congregation because you're a wonderful medium, 99 of them will switch off as soon as you go to an individual. That's the danger. That's the danger or the potential. Every time you do a message and go to an individual, the rest of them will switch off, potentially. Whereas if you put it out to the whole congregation, everybody's saying, "Oh, is that with me? Is that with me? Let me be assertive. Let me listen to the information that for example, Moira is offering up here to see if this is one of my loved ones." And again, with an area, you're maybe there's about 4 or 5 people who are listening. A lot of people. So it's about your relationship with the spirit world and with the individual communicator. So this is what I get I teach my students to do all 3, and I think so does Moira. But a technique I give to my students, if they want to go direct, if they want to know who the client is, and we have to remember, you know, someone as marvelous as Gordon Higginson would say, sometimes he knew who the client was, but he wouldn't go direct to them because he'd been direct the previous message. So he wanted to wake him up and get the attention of the whole congregation. So he would flitter and flutter with it everywhere before he was directed to that individual. So a technique I give students is every time you give off, if you imagine your relationship, you and the spirit world, the communicator, every time you give off a piece of information, I have Father with me here, you've obviously received that from that communicator. That means your relationship has become somewhat stronger to get that piece of information. He died of cancer. Your relationship has got stronger because you've got that piece of information. He died of cancer. So probably after about 4 statements, you're about as close as you're going to get. And then in your mind, just say to the communicator, who is it that you want to talk to? Which one of the people, lovely people in this congregation, do you want to talk to? If those 4 previous statements that you gave, I had Father, he died of cancer, he came from Cambridge, he had 7 children, if they are correct, why wouldn't the next statement be correct? And I want to talk to the lady with the red hat on. That equally will be correct because you've received it from the communicator. However, I would recommend that you do all 3 of them. Thank you.
No, I'd agree. And so does Elizabeth. She likes that.
Wonderful.
He's not bad, really, Elizabeth, at times.
Only at times.
Yeah, only at times. Okay, so now we've got Tyrone. And he wants to know, do you recommend practicing readings online via the Facebook practice groups, or should a medium be more developed first? Well, first of all, my answer to that is you can learn to develop your mediumship, for me, as much on Zoom or on the internet as you can in a circle with real people, especially if, as Tim said in the very beginning, you know, that we're aware of energy. I can remember when the shutdown first came, and I was talking to Tim about us working together on Zoom, and he wasn't sure if it would work. But to me, there's no distance in the spirit world. So does it matter if we're all together or not? The energy in the spirit world is still there. And we actually had students who were very new at it, and also those who were very experienced at it. And they all progress, they all continue to learn. So for me, I'm not saying I would recommend it, because I think it's an individual thing. It's how you feel happy with it. But if you choose to develop online, to me, it works just as well as it does in the real person. The only thing is, in the real world, it's nice to have company. That's what it is. Yeah. Tim.
So we don't know your mediumship, Tyrone, so it's very hard for us to give you an in-depth answer to that. But I agree with Moira. Zoom is a wonderful place to express mediumship. It's equally as good. It's different, but equally as good as, or valuable as, doing church work or in person, if you like. So we don't know your mediumship, so we can't say, yes, go and practice on these practicing forums. However, they are very, very healthy for budding mediums. So I would say, if you choose to go and practice on those outlets through Zoom and other outlets. Don't be judgmental of your work. It is just a practicing platform, a platform to learn about your own mediumship, how to present mediumship from a platform. So don't go away looking for the first cat to kick because you got a no from a client. You know, that's part of the journey, is understanding your strengths and your weaknesses. So be quite tough-skinned, if you like, if you're going to do those practicing formats, platforms, and be gentle with yourself. Don't be too critical of your own work. It's just a place to explore your own mediumship and how to demonstrate it.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Thanks for that, Tyrone. Hope it's helped, Liv. Should have brought your guitar kit, Tim. You could have given us a song. No, forget that one. Okay, Zoe, I'm glad you came in quick there, because he might have started singing for us. Okay, so what does it mean if I can see a thin layer of energy around people and animals? Would I be able to see the aura eventually if I worked on it? Your answer, Tim.
Beautiful. Zoe, forgive me, your innocence is beautiful. Zoe, can you not understand? You are already seeing the aura. What you are seeing is the aura, and you're perceiving it in your way. And you're perceiving it in a way that actually most mediums and psychics will see it like that, almost like that thin line around an individual with a slight vibration to it, movement to it. And depending on what's going on in the mind, in the medium, the mind, the emotions, the physical body of the individual, maybe that frequency will slightly change because it will be being affected by the mind, the emotions, the physical body, the incarnate spirit. But you are most definitely, from a clairvoyant, the ability to see. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. It's about understanding the science and the ability that you have. You have the ability of clairvoyance and seeing it emanate from the physical. And I'm a great believer, and I know Moira is, because I know her to be an animal lover. You mentioned dogs there. Dogs have a spirit just like the physical, the human beings, and therefore they have an aura. Flowers,
trees.
I could recommend a very good book for you, if I'm allowed to do that, Zoe. The Unseen World is all about the auric field, and there's different people like Curly. You may have heard of Curly photography. That was invented by a Russian couple, and who did exactly the same as you. They went and visited a friend and saw the auric field of their friend as he lied in bed in hospital. But The Unseen World is a very good book about the auric field. You have the ability, Zoe, to see the auric field, without a doubt.
And nothing is silly, you know, Zoe. If you want to ask the question, you should ask it, and nothing is silly.
We're happy.
But thank you for asking it, because you see, you asking that question will probably have helped so many others by sitting there thinking, well, then I can see the aura and I didn't know I could. Oh, well done, darling. Thank you very much. Good girl. So you're going to find your book on Kindle.
Wonderful. Not my book.
No, but the book. Okay. Right. We've got one now, Tim, from Joanne. I'm a spirit medium myself. How can I connect with my own loved ones in spirit, please? I keep trying, but to no avail. Thank you. I think my simple question to that, Joanne, would be, for me, it's as easy, if not easier, for me to talk to my loved ones in the spirit world now. But I know in the beginning, I thought I was talking to myself. And because you can't prove it, you haven't got a client there, you're not giving a client the information and the evidence for them to say, yes, that makes sense, then I think we doubt too much in our own abilities. So I would say this to you, instead of worrying so much about talking to them at first, just sit in the quiet and ask one of your loved ones to just come and be in your company. And don't talk to them, just ask them. And ask them to bring that love or to bring those feelings. And as you're sitting there, just be aware of the energy of your loved one and that emotion that comes and that feeling that comes. And for me, the more that you practice that, so you know you're in the company of your loved one, then you can start and talk to them. Tim, what do you think?
Well, I don't know that I can add to the beautiful answer that you've just given, Moira. Again, if we go back to the format that I read out earlier, the very first word I used was intention.
Yeah.
Just have the intention of being in, and make the space in your mind and in your physical environment to be in the company of your loved ones, and then allow naturally to unfold what Moira suggested there.
There's a simple exercise, Tim, isn't there, that we've used for developments, and it's just come to me. So maybe, Joanne, you could use this. If you're sitting in the quiet, allow yourself to be sitting on a chair in a bubble and be aware of the energy that builds. And just know that beside you is an empty chair. And after a while, just put your hand out of the bubble and ask your loved one to take it. And then ask them to step in, holding on to your hand. Let them step into the bubble and sit on the chair beside you, just very slowly. So you slowly become aware of them and then just be in their company. Try that and see if that works for you. Thank you for your question, Joanne.
Yeah, thank you. I can't. Forgive me. It's not in the room that I'm in right now. Forgive me, I can't. But there are many different scientists who.
What's it called, Tim?
The
Unseen World.
It's either the unseen self or the unseen world. Forgive me. I think it may be the unseen self.
Oh,
there you go. Good man. Do we need to repeat that, Richard, on your behalf? There you go. Very good book. Slightly scientific, but different scientists and researchers, including the Kurlian married couple, Russian couple, who look at the auric field and in different ways. Very, very good book. There's some good books out there. Okay.
Hi, Sherry. Okay. How can you break through the barrier to hear spirit? I have and always have just known so very much before it happens, but can't quite figure out how to tap into it clearly. Over to you, Tim.
So the first thing you're doing wrong, forgive me, there's a lot of psychology in mediumship that we have to look at, because it's mental mediumship, of course. And you're suggesting there's a barrier that you have to break through. That suggests that you think it's a challenge to achieve it. And it isn't. It's very, very natural. So what I would recommend is that you design a meditation. There's different types of meditation, but a bit what we would call a visualization, where all your senses are active. So let me recommend a format for you. You're on a bus out in the countryside, and you're on the top deck of the bus. It's a double decker. You're going through the country. There's no houses. It's nice and quiet. There's an elderly couple. So what you're towards the back of the bus. There's an elderly couple towards the front of the bus, talking about what they need to do when they arrive to town, because that's where the bus is going. And you can hear them talking about what they're going to buy, what they've got to do, maybe somebody they're going to visit. You can hear their discussion that they're having between them. And just sit at the back of the bus and listen to them. As the bus journey continues, maybe you begin to see the odd house. And as you move into town, things become a lot more noisy. You can hear buses. You can hear people talking. There's an open market. And you know what you get on the open market, and these open markets? The lads with their vegetables and their fruit, and they're saying, "Come on, girls, get your bananas, 2 for a dozen." And they're saying all things like that. Not that I've ever done that, and you can hear them trying to sell their wares. There's a church clock, and it strikes, and the bell rings, depending on what time it is. You can hear the bell ring. In the town, you pass a playground, and you can hear the children playing, running around on the swings. You can hear the movement of the swings. You can hear people talking. So you're encouraging, in the most natural way possible, through the activity of meditation, that particular sense to become active. It's not a barrier. It's just that you've chosen subconsciously not to embrace it and use it. And it's more than just your desire. So if you do it in meditation a few times and then go into mediumship, knowing that it will naturally happen for you, the probability is it will.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. Tim, you sure you've not worked on the market? That was very good. It was like you had lots of practice.
I could only work a lady on a lady's clothing stall or something.
Bless.
I couldn't sell anything to anybody, me, I tell you.
Okay. Oh, need the glasses on for this one. Okay. I'll read it because it's a long one, Tim. You can answer it. A few weeks ago, I woke up and saw 2 human figures standing at the bottom of my bed. They were all purple in colour. However, last night I woke up and saw a spirit hovering above me. They were not purple this time, though. I could see it as clear as day. It had a skeleton-like face and very gaunt, but had skin on it with hair. It eventually moved up slowly towards the ceiling and vanished. Is this spirit I am seeing, or have I lost the plot?
You certainly have not lost the plot, bless you. So we have to, the most important thing that you've said there is you just woke up. So the mind, you have to have an understanding of the 4 states of consciousness of the mind. And spirit communication and awareness of spirit comes about in the theta state, which is a very passive state of mind, but a very heightened state of energy and sensitivity. And when we go to sleep, of course, we go into that delta state. And as we begin to come out of sleep, we are moving back through the theta state into the alpha state and back into the beta state. The beta state being your everyday consciousness. But in that theta state, where your sensitivity and awareness is at its highest, if you like, heightened. And so your sensitivity, your awareness, those psychic faculties are activated. So we perceive the spirit world. So it sounds like you were in a space, a state of consciousness, and your sensitivity was heightened. So it was compatible with perceiving the spirit world. Forgive me, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a medium. You may very well be a medium, but you know, it's one thing to be in the company of the spirit, it's another thing to be a medium. But you certainly, by the sounds of what you've described there, you've had an experience of perceiving individuals from the spirit world. As for the individual being gaunt, what does that mean? I don't know. It's not for a teacher to say that. You had that experience. It's for you to perceive what that means. Maybe he passed with cancer or something. I don't know. Or maybe that was just his physical stature. I don't know that there's anything negative about it. But you most certainly, from what you're saying, had a experience of perceiving through clairvoyance spirit communicators. Wonderful.
Okay, good. Thank
Wonderful.
you, Tim. That's it.
I was just saying, it's a wonderful experience to have that.
Yeah, too right. And so thank you for that, Julie. Hi, Matt. Okay, and the same to you.
Lovely couple, wonderful mediums.
What? Okay. Can you explain what is a master manifester? I had a wonderful reading from Lisa Fry on the TV. Just don't understand what this means.
Okay. Do you want me to answer that, or do you, Moira?
No, you go.
Well, what a master manifester means, I haven't got a clue. So let me say this to you.
Nor me.
I don't know the lady that you had the reading with. I'm sure she's a wonderful medium. The challenge comes within mediumship as a whole throughout the world is different schools of mediumship will use different terminology when they are referring to a particular phenomena or a particular event, for example. So I'm just breaking down your word. This is how I perceive that phrase. A master, a guide. That's only my opinion. Manifester, somebody who manifests. So a guide who presents themselves to you. That is my opinion of that phrase. That may not be your Mrs. Fry's meaning. So forgive me for saying this, Emma. Your best bet is to go back to the individual and say, can I ask what you, when you refer to master manifester, what you are referring to in layman's terms? I'm sure she's correct in what she's highlighting, but sometimes mediums do use their own personal phrases or phrases from their own individual schools, if you like.
Okay, hope that helps, Emma. Yep, do you want to fit one more in, Tim, and then we're done?
Another what? Question or
Yeah,
question?
question.
Let's go for it.
How does one join a circle?
Do you want to answer that, Moira? Yeah.
Carry on.
You want me to answer it?
Yeah.
Okay. So our directors actually made a very good point there. For those for everybody who's listening, let's first of all talk about the definition of a circle. And really a circle, in my opinion, is a North American Indian terminology. But it's a gathering, a spiritual gathering of people if you like, an evening class. Doesn't necessarily have to be in an evening, but would be the easiest way to refer to it, where you can be guided by a teacher who will have mediumistical abilities, or should have, and help you step by step develop and unfold your mediumistical potential and your spiritual pathway. The challenge we have in England, everybody thinks that England is the leading light in the world for teaching mediumship and mediumship, and I think we probably are. But the challenge is that then you get to a point where we are now, where there is a circle on every corner in every town. Doesn't necessarily mean they are all good. So I would say, first of all, if you are thinking to develop your mediumship, think of your responsibility to your mediumship. I don't know if you have children, but if you have children or young people in your family, think about when they were babies and the very first time they were babysat. You wouldn't just give the child to anybody to babysit while you went out skipping around town enjoying yourself. And in the same vein, you shouldn't give anybody your mediumship to mold and shape. So I would really look at people who are recommended to you, teachers who are recommended to you. Most spiritualist churches, you may not be of a religious leaning, and that's absolutely fine. Not all spiritualists are mediums, and not all mediums are spiritualists. But a lot of spiritualist churches, there will be circles. There are online ones. I'm sure if you text our director here at on this, I don't know how they would get hold of our director, but I'm sure he'll put that up on the screen for you. I'm sure there are different circles that he or his organisation provides, online ones, where you won't have to even leave your home. So that there are certainly many circles out there where you develop under hopefully a good tuition of a good teacher. But be mindful of who you hand over your potential, your ability of mediumship to. Thank you very much.
Okay, hope that's been of some help to you, Chandra. Okay, Richard. You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
So we have to thank our people, obviously, who've joined us here this evening, don't we, Moira? Because I believe we're coming to an end.
Oh, and especially because without everybody coming and asking the questions, there wouldn't be much point in us being here, would there?
Absolutely. We give thanks to our producer for giving us the platform to share our points of view. And we have to highlight again, they are only our views. They don't have to be your views. But equally, if we've educated you or helped you along the way, then our job is done here this evening. So thank you very much.
Oh, gosh.
There are a lot of questions that we haven't got to, but I'm sure
there's been over 40 questions, Tim, that we couldn't get to.
Yeah. So if you keep pestering the director, I'm sure there will be dates in the future where we will do these types of evenings. Each evening we'll have a different subject. Maybe next time we will look at the development of trance, maybe, which I know is a favourite of Moira's. It's actually a subject that both Moira and I love deeply, and that would be a nice subject to get our teeth into. I'm sure there'll be some wonderful questions on that. So we do apologise for those that we didn't answer your questions, but equally we hope we helped with the answers that we did answer, the questions that we did answer.
And I hope you found it interesting as well, watching Tim work and him going through how he made that link with the spirit world. So thank you all for joining us, and just remember, you're all special.
Absolutely.
Okay, let me hope I get this right. So, at the end of this evening, for the people who belong to the TV, there's going, sorry,
Fan club.
the fan club. Okay, there's going to be a meeting
And after
at 9:30. If you want to join, I keep asking Richard to remind me because I couldn't quite hear what he said. So the information is on the fan page. So if you're a fan and you want to come and join at 9:30, go to the fan page. It'll give the information on the link and come along. It's after the show this evening and it's via Zoom. Okay? So come along and have a bit of fun this evening, 9:30.
You were marvellous there, Moira.
I'm always marvellous, Tim, but then I have to cope with you, so there we go. Oh, you showed us you'd got no hair on the top of your head as well then, Tim.
Oh, it went a long, long time ago. That's another story.
Oh dear. Yes, so good night, everybody. And again, thank you all for being so lovely and so kind and welcoming us this evening.
Thank you very much, everybody. Be kind to each other. Remember, the spirit world love you, so love yourself.
Be kinder to yourself than I am to Tim.